This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello there, my friends. Welcome back to another true crime conversation with me, Gavin Fish, a guy who, despite years of YouTube experience and a chief button pusher, still doesn't completely have a handle on which buttons to push. So I guess no cold open this morning or this afternoon, this evening, whatever. I had even prepared one. I'd prepared what I thought was going to be the most dramatic cold open of my YouTube career, and I ruined it all by pushing the wrong button. Should we try a take two? Should we try a take two, Javi? They don't mind listening to the theme song twice, looking at my formerly fat self walking around in the dark, right? Let's do it. Okay, take two, starting and mark. Nolan Wells was 18 years old. He went out with friends on the 4th of July on a boating trip to an uninhabited barrier island off of the Mississippi coast. But his friends came back without him. 2 days later, his body was found in the water. Now, authorities have said that they don't currently have any evidence of foul play. But Nolan's family says that the story that they've been given does not make sense to them. They want to know, why was he left behind? What happened to his phone? What was the boat's timeline? What does it really show? What did witnesses see? And whether emergency audio from that day raises even more questions. That is why this case has caught so much attention, because right now, this isn't just a story about a tragic death of a young man after a holiday trip. It's a story about a family looking at the official explanation and saying, hey, wait a minute. There are too many things here that don't add up. And this seems to be a theme with a lot of the cases that we follow here. I was on the phone with Sandy Greenberg earlier today. Same kind of thing, right? Hey, wait a minute. This doesn't add up. We want a good explanation. And in Mississippi, for someone like Nolan Wells, I fear that his case might not be investigated properly. I'm not saying that it has or it has not, but I'm fearing that it won't be. So we're going to be getting into that tonight. We're also going to be doing our 3 question segment. We've got some headlines to get into in the Siders family saga, the 16 children out of Vinton County, Ohio. We've got an update in the Amy Hilliard case. Actually got an update in the Nick Reiner case. We've got some good news. Of course, we've got 3 questions. We've got a lot to do, but why don't we start with the question of the day? This question comes from yesterday's members only and patron only after show, where we decided that on the next one, I'm going to be doing the after show from the darkroom. I'm going to be working on printing, showing you guys that. So the question of the day is, what's something you still do the old-fashioned way, even though there's an easier option now? Like for me, I'm all about film cameras. I love me film cameras. I love processing film. I love processing prints. So what's something that you still do the old-fashioned way, even though there's an easier option now? We got so much to do. Go ahead and answer that question. Don't forget to put GF in the comment so that I can see it. Check in with where you're tuning in from. I just love that. And with that, Javi, roll it. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. All right. Do I say it again? Welcome back, my friend. Welcome to another true crime conversation with me, Gavin Fish. I'm glad that we had that take too. Javi, they're not even going to notice it on the replay crew. They're not even going to notice that. I know we're live now, but don't even, I'm not even worried about it. Javi, you don't have to worry about it because it wasn't your fault. But I'm not worried about it being the faulted, because they're not even going to notice. They're not even going to notice. Guys, it is so good to be back with you this Thursday, July 16th, year of our Lord, 2026. So glad that you have decided to join me. Today is the first time we're getting into the Nolan Wells case. This is a case of a suspicious death. We don't know that there is any foul play here at all. What we know is that there are questions that need to be answered, and it's appropriate to ask those questions. I'm glad that Christine and Elmore Wansley are asking those questions, are demanding those questions be answered where they live. Yeah. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about that plus so many other things. We're going to get to your comments. Actually, you guys are already chiming in, right? Let's see what you're saying. One of the things you do the old-fashioned way. Hello, X5M says, I wash my dishes by hand. Well, it's interesting that you say that because, in every family, both members of the partnership bring in methods, traditions from the family that they grew up in. In my little family with my snuggly bear, my sweetie pie, my one and only Mrs. Kimberly Compton Fish, she's brought more in than I have. I think. It's all in the eye of the beholder, right? But one of the things that she brought into our household is we have a dishwasher. We use the dishwasher, but we're required to wash the dishes first. And in my wife's mind, and I blame my beloved mother-in-law for this one, because I brought this up to her and she doubled down on it. But in my wife's mind, the dishwasher is more of an autoclave. It's not to wash, it is to sanitize. Of course, it's not how physics works, but that's what we have to do in our house. We have to scrub all the dishes before it is then put into the dishwasher and then cleaned again. Apparently it's just my wife's way. And you know what? We definitely have clean dishes, and that's pretty great. Robin says, I still spell my memory, which is kind of old-fashioned. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I do too, most of the time. Gail says, I still like to wash my floors on hands and knees. I'm only 75, staying young. Well, man, you sure are. Sharky says, I write out a grocery list. I think that's old school, right? Yeah, that's definitely old school, Sharky. Yeah. Does counting on your fingers count as doing it the manual way? Yes. Yes, it does. That is funny. Saudi Daisy, Tennessee is checking in. Robin says, oh, and I answer my phone when it rings. No pretext needed. I just answer the phone. Hey, Robin, are you of the age where you can leave a perfect voicemail message? Like you remember the answering machine? I got to say, those who did not grow up in a time of the answering machine have missed out, because the standard thing that happens on every voicemail that I can't figure, I have Verizon. I have no idea how to stop that 92-year long explanation of leave your message now, when you're done, hang up. That is like the automated message. I just want it to be my delightful little thing that says, hey, text me. Is really what it says. But I find myself leaving messages for my friends and my parents going, hey, Mom, it's Gavin. The time is 6:13 p.m. It's Thursday, July 16th. Hope this message finds you well. My number is, 916-555-1212. That's 916-555-1212. Please call me back when you can at your earliest convenience at 916-555-1212. Thanks, Mom. I love you. Bye. That, like, I am the quintessential Generation X voicemail leaver. I am the equivalent of Captain Holt from Brooklyn Nine-Nine signing all of his texts. It's hilarious. Mooney says, making pasta from scratch. I could just buy pre-made or use an attachment to the mixer for rolling out pasta sheets, but no, I still do it the way my Nana did. It takes forever, but it is so, and I'm guessing, worth it. Our daughter makes homemade noodles. It's delicious. Hello from the host city of FIFA. Glad you are here. K Bling, have you heard of the Susan Ledyard 2019 case? It does not ring a bell, but K Bling, shoot me a message on my website, will you? Cold Aquarius says, mopping the floors. I don't own a mop. So you do it the old fashioned way? Do you put rags on your feet and dance? That's what my wife does. Let's see. Cook rice on a stove, not those rice cookers. Oh, I'm a rice cooker lover. Robin says, absolutely. As a child, we had to answer, hello, Bears residents. This is Robin speaking. Absolutely. Yeah, perfect. Fish, is Gavin speaking? Yes, that was exactly the way I answered the phone. Ah. Mooney says, I also still write on the calendar on my fridge, all appointments, birthdays, etc. Good for you. That's awesome. Diane says, I still wash dishes by hand, even though I have a dishwasher. Gavin, still have a landline? AT&T hates me. No, I don't have a landline anymore, but I have the same cell phone that I have had forever. You can pry 916 out of my cold, dead fingers. I live clear out here in Western PA, but you can pry the 916 out of my cold, dead hands. Hello says, or listening on the other phone while a sibling is talking to a friend. You have to be very, very careful. That is funny. Excuse me just a second, guys. Still got a cough. Still got this nasal thing, and that's what happens with me. If I get a little bit sick, especially in my lungs or in my sinus cavity, it lasts forever. Guys, those were delightful. Thank you for answering the question of the day. I really, really enjoyed that. Okay, let us, shall we, go ahead and get into the case. I thought what we would do first is we would familiarize ourselves with the case. I have prepared a couple of articles that we can get into that give us a little bit of background. This is the first time that we are doing this case here on my channel. Therefore, I always feel like behind. I feel behind. But this is Nolan Wells. This is Nolan Wells with his parents. Looks like he's a recent high school grad, class of 2025. Yep. Good looking kid. Got the world ahead of him, looking sharp in that suit. And his life was cut tragically short. Let's go over to this article in People and see what they have to say. All right, this was from today. Headline is Nolan Wells death investigations raise key questions, what to know. So it's the perfect segue or lead into our coverage of this case. It's been nearly 2 weeks, reads the article, since an Independence Day celebration on an island off the coast of Mississippi ended in tragedy, mystery, and outcry with the disappearance and death of Nolan Wells. This is a picture of Horn Island. The case has sparked national interest in large part because of the unanswered questions about Wells' final hours. The 18-year-old family, by the way, it'll say it on my lower third on the screen here, but if you have anything that you want me to read, put GF in the comment. It highlights it on my end. Okay? I've already missed out on some of these. There was a great comment in the beginning that I can't see anymore about, would you get on a boat that was sinking? So put GF in your comment. I do my best to read all of those. All right. The 18-year-old's family has said they believe race is a factor in how authorities are handling the case and are calling for transparency and thoroughness. And whether there is or not, in that part of the United States, there is deep and, I mean, deserved, I would say, mistrust. So I don't. So calling for transparency and thoroughness, I think, is the responsible thing to do. Wells' parents have also sharply questioned one potential explanation for what happened on July 4th, that their son went off away from his friends while at a party on Horn Island and later died in an accident or drowning after leaving his phone behind on the boat. Rather, according to his mom and dad, something more nefarious could have befallen him and been covered up. Law enforcement, for their part, has asked for time in order to be diligent in gathering all the facts. They have said they haven't found signs of foul play and think Wells could have drowned. Currents around the island can be dangerous, and some accounts say there was drinking at the party, but then Wells' family has wondered, wouldn't someone have seen him in distress in the water? Possibly. Sure, possibly. Also, possibly not, right? And that's why, there are questions. Both an independent and official autopsy are pending. Few details have been confirmed about either of the official investigation or the parallel investigation being conducted by Wells' family, which has raised more than $650,000. Here are some key facts, discrepancies, and questions in the case so far. Number one, when was Nolan Wells last seen and what was he doing? A community college student and football player in Jackson County, Mississippi, Nolan Wells had gone with some friends to Horn Island for a 4th of July celebration, a party that had numerous people at it. Video from that day shows approximately 100 people in the sand and surf, and Wells' family's attorney said there were 200 gathered. Wells took a boat with some friends, which was typical. I think the island was described as being about 20 miles offshore. You know what we could do? Let's just head on over and do some map time, shall we? Let's go to Google Maps and take a look at Horn Island, Mississippi. Let me bring this up for you guys to see. So here is Horn Island. Very long little island, and as we kind of see where it is, south of the Mississippi coast in what is now referred to as the Gulf of America, which was historically the Gulf of Mexico. But that looks like, see, looking at the scale of about 2 miles, to me, that looks maybe 5 or 6 miles off the coast. That's what it looks like to me. So it's a few miles off the coast of Mississippi in the Gulf. Okay, coming back to the story. The reason I thought that was interesting, somebody described it as 20 miles. Like, that is actually a long boat ride. 20 miles is, you're in the boat for a good long time. I used to have, Kimberly and I used to have a fast boat. And it was a jet boat with a big motor, and on glass we could get to about 60 miles an hour. It's fast. But never would I go 60 miles an hour just on open water. You kill somebody, right? So if it was 20 miles off the coast, you're talking a good hour before you get there if you're really moving along at a clip. So it makes more sense that it's just a few miles. Okay. Wells took a boat with some friends, which was typical. His parents didn't expect to hear from him that day during what they considered a last hurrah before he went back to school for football training. According to Ashley Cole, a local judge, her son Warren last saw Wells around 3 p.m. local time on the island that Saturday. Cole said Warren left about 4:30 p.m. because the boat he was on began taking on water and experiencing problems with its bilge pump. There is some audio that we're going to listen to here in a little bit. Wells was photographed holding an alcoholic drink, and a friend has described the party as getting rowdier over time, though it's not clear Wells himself was intoxicated. Quote, my understanding is that even though there was pictures of the boys drinking beer and stuff, Nolan's blood alcohol level was not at an intoxicated level, close quote. Brian Trasher, vice president and spokesman for the United Cajun Navy, which assisted in the search for Wells, has told People. We kind of have to take that as with a grain of salt. It's his understanding. We don't have any official word on that. Uh, by the way, like, I hate to be old, curmudgeonly, paternal Gavin here, but guys, no, it's not me. It's not me. It's it's Uncle Gavin that we
Listen up,
here.
kids. Uncle Gavin has some wisdom for you.
Hey kids, it's your Uncle Gavin here. Listen, I'm sorry to be a downer. Sorry to be that guy. But since you're young, you're 18, 19, 20 years old, you are by definition an idiot. An idiot we love. We love you, little idiots. We just love you. But you are an idiot. And listen, drinking is a bad idea at any age, especially drinking to real intoxication. But adding in that you're playing in the water, you're on boats, you're on an island, that's just dillholery. Okay? That's what that is. You don't have the experience to understand. I get it. Like I said, you're stupid. We love you, little stupid guys and gals. Oh my goodness, we just love you, but you're so dumb. Don't do this. Okay, don't do this. Don't do it at any age. This kind of behavior leads to tragedy. That tragedy could be nefarious. It could also be accidental. Either way, it's tragedy, and this message has been brought to you by Uncle Gavin. All right. Getting back to the article at hand. How did Wells separate from his friends and family? Quote, Nolan made a decision to stay on the island and return inland later with another group of friends, Cole said. That account was echoed by another friend, and the Jackson County Sheriff, John Ledbetter, has cited the same sort of statements. Trayston Shepard, who said he was Wells' friend and was on the island that day, told ABC News that Wells met a young woman and wanted to stay behind. As one does when one is a young man and one is attracted to young women. Okay, I totally get that. I'll find a way home. If I have to swim home, it'll be worth it to spend these extra couple hours with this delightful young lady right here. I get it. I get it. Okay. They met that day, and it's kind of one of those things, Shepard said. He did come off that day that he really did like her, but that was the only time they ever hung out. Okay, so they met. Oh, the memories are awash of times like that in my life that I experienced that. Okay, but Wells' parents don't accept that. Okay, calling it out of character, reckless behavior. Out of character for an 18-year-old boy to want to hang out with a lovely young woman on a beach on an island in the Gulf. I mean, you know him better than I do. I also was once a young man. And so, and I also know that young men are idiots. So there's that. Okay. Quote, we always taught him that if you go with a group, you stay with a group, Dad Elmore Wansley said. I have some pictures here. Here are Elmore and Christine Wansley. He said on Good Morning America, if you go with five, you come back with five. Do not separate from the group because I always said safety is in numbers. So he knew to stay with his group. So why would he split from the group? I don't know. I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Alcohol and girls. That would be why I would do it. And okay. I think I've shared this before, but my dad is an avid journaler, meaning he keeps a personal history that is detailed. Okay, detailed. This is a bit of a tangent. This is a total tangent. Yeah, let's do tangent music here real quick. Okay, total tangent. But my dad is this. I mean, there's nobody else like him with the amount of personal history that guy has kept. Each year, his journal printed off fills up 2 banker's boxes worth of information. Okay. Why am I bringing this up? Because uh, while I was in the throes of my post midlife crisis after turning 50 and visiting my parents, I asked if I could pull down the old boxes from the attic to read through his journal from this very time, like Nolan's age, right? For me, it was 1993, 1994. Dad says, sure. So I pull down the old journal and I'm going through it and I'm finding all sorts of funny things. And uh, the the stuff that my dad reported on my life in his journal is exactly, I mean, it's so exactly a good representation of what I told him were the things that I was doing. But it is nowhere close to what I was actually doing, not even in the same galaxy. So, all due respect to Mr. Wansley and Mrs. Wansley, who I think it is appropriate that they have questions. We are talking about an 18-year-old boy. Okay? He could be the best kid ever. I think that I was a good kid. And yet, they're just things that we do because we're dumb that we don't tell our parents. There are things that we're not obedient to. It's just the way it is. But I mean, you know him better than me. But if I were him, so far, I'm kind of like going, alcohol, girls, warmth, the sun is out, the surf is coming in, I'm on the beach. Yeah, guys, I'll see you later. I'll find a boat home. I feel like that is what a boy would do. So anyway, continuing the story, they considered this story evidence of something more troubling, which is fair enough. Quote, when they said that, that automatically just, it turned me off, but it turned me on a question like, I know he wouldn't do that. I preach that to him every day. You're lying to me, Elmore told the Griot. What about witnesses on the island? Very, very few of them have spoken publicly. One friend, Shepard, said it was because of intense online scrutiny and even death threats they've received. Some of the community members involved, like Cole, the judge, said they deleted their social media pages for the same reason. Presumably, the people on the island are being interviewed by the sheriff, who has appealed to the public for any further leads. Quote, I think it's important we don't put ourselves on a timetable, that we don't rush ourselves, Sheriff Ledbetter told ABC. But I do think it's important to be diligent in gathering all the facts. That's what the family deserves, close quote. Wells' family attorney, Ben Crump, has said their outside team has spoken with dozens of witnesses too. Okay, so they're good on them. Glad they're doing a good solid investigation. I'm proud of them for doing it. It's not publicly known who all has been interviewed by authorities or Wells' family and what they've said. Crump said they planned to speak with the young woman on the island, and Wells' mom, Christine Wansley, told the Griot the woman did reach out to me initially, just saying basically like it was a hey and bye type situation. I was like, that's not what I'm getting from other people, Christine said, calling it another example of the inconsistencies around her son's death. I want to click on this article real quick and let me just look at it. See if it yeah, it doesn't identify the young woman, which is good. Okay. Continuing the story, when and where did Wells die? That's not known. One of the friends who was with him on the island, Warren, the son of Cole, a local chancery judge, called Wells' mom on the night of the 4th, and she alerted law enforcement. A search began in the ensuing hours. Wells' body was found on July 6th on the island. The sheriff initially indicated that Wells' body did not have homicidal trauma, and thus it seemed he had drowned, but the coroner has told people he will not speculate yet. The results of both the official and outside autopsies, including toxicology, haven't been released. So, I don't know. Cajun Navy dude may have some inside scoop from the family about, toxicology that they got back from their autopsy, but so far we don't have any official word. Okay. What about Wells' phone? Shepard, Wells' friend, said Wells kept his phone inside the boat during the island party on July 4th so as not to get it wet while he was in the ocean. Yeah, okay. Later, the phone remained there, and Wells' parents used a tracking app to locate it with a friend back on the mainland. Wells' parents consider him leaving his phone in the boat highly unusual and potentially a clue to something else. As their attorney said, what teenager puts their phone down? I mean, I think I am leaning toward the family on this one. I mean, typically they like I'm thinking about my kids who admittedly are like little fishies. They spend a lot of time in the water. Always have. There's always some sort of dry bag. There's always some sort of backpack that goes with them wherever they are. And my kids aren't like total adventurers, but they're still like a dry bag that you can sling on your back, and it's light, it's lightweight. You can carry it with you. You can have your phone with you, take pictures if you want. So leaving a phone in a boat, I mean, that that seems odd to me, for sure. Okay. They have also said it would be odd to discover Wells' phone didn't include more messages, photos, or videos from his outing with his friends, which may have shed more light on what he did that day. So they're like, was stuff deleted? However, Shepard offered a different view, telling ABC that it was normal to leave a phone in the boat to protect it during gatherings like a party. All our friends are out there. Who are we communicating with? And we're in saltwater. We're not in freshwater. I mean, okay. These seem like kids that live on the coast, right, and have some familiarity with the water. Still, I mean, our kids didn't grow up right on the coast, but they grew up in California. We spent a lot of time at the coast, in the water, at the beach, on the boat, stuff like that. So, okay. What about the viral video and photo? Okay, Crump, the Wells family attorney, has singled out both a video from the party on the island and a separate photo of Wells from a pool party back on the mainland. In a social media repost, Crump suggested Wells could have returned home early on July 5th, died later, and then his body returned to Horn Island on July 6th. A timeline that now appears to be contradicted by other known facts, including when his parents say they were first told he was missing and found his phone. Yeah, okay. Crump also said the viral video recorded Wells in an argument, but that was later disputed by Shepard, who said it was him who was being recorded. Crump later said that his team continues to receive tips and claims that Wells was in some kind of argument. The photo Crump circulated is also, per Rolling Stone, actually from June and not July 4th. Yes, got to be careful about this sort of stuff. Okay, about the rip currents. Currents are dangerous and a very real problem on the Gulf Coast, including around the Barrier Islands where Wells was partying. A teenage girl was reportedly hospitalized in critical condition on Dauphin Island, not far from Horn Island, in 2022 after being stuck in the water. More broadly, drowning is a frequent public danger. More than 4,000 people unintentionally drown in the U.S. every year. According to the federal government, that's more than 10 each day. Has the Wells family uncovered anything? Not that they've said yet, but their work continues in what their lawyer called a ferocious search for truth and justice. They've had custody of Wells' body for nearly a week, along with his phone. Crump told reporters that the case will be presented by officials to a grand jury as part of the investigation, not necessarily as indication of suspicion of a crime, and that Wells' cell phone would undergo a manual inspection by experts for the family and the district attorney's office. Speaking with the Griot, Wells' mom had this message for parents of any young people who may know something more. Don't be scared to speak up. Okay, so that's a pretty darn good introduction to the case. I'm sure that we have professional or amateur quibblers in the live chat. So why don't we come over to the live and see what you guys are. Actually, let me bring up a different picture. I think this is the photo. Maybe let me just verify that the one that the attorney had put out there. Let me see. It doesn't say. Doesn't say. But anyway, just a couple photos of young Mr. Wells with his friends. They look like a tight crew, but nefarious things can happen in tight crews, right? That's definitely a thing. So let's just go to see what you're saying here. Hello, hello. Thank you very much for the super chat. I'm surprised I lived through my teens but didn't drink or do Mary J or rugs. I was just a tomboy and did really stupid stuff. Tried to swim across the river and my brother stopped me. I frequently wonder how it is that I survived to adulthood with the stupid stuff that I did. And again, we love kiddos. Their innocence and their ignorance is something that we that we love about them, right? It's part of growing up. It's we were them at one point, right? Klep, getting back to the question of the day, old-fashioned way I prefer to make and receive handmade gifts. Oh, that's awesome. Or something thoughtful like a book. Oh, I prefer real books. Good for you. I like it. Dixie checking in from Colorado. Thank you very much. Good to see you here, Dixie. Diane Ferris says, Gavin, 10 miles. Okay, 10 miles. The Google Maps just doesn't look like a full 10 miles, but I mean, yeah, maybe. Especially if you get in like starting up in here, maybe that is 10 miles. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, I guess it could be 10 miles, maybe a little shorter here. That's still a bit of a hike. That's a bit of a hike, man. All right. Hello says this case is weird and it could be an accident or foul play. I just don't know. Waiting to hear more evidence and facts. I am too. I'm looking forward to hearing it. My favorite station says here in Canada, rest of the world, Google Maps still shows Gulf of Mexico. And here in America, it says Gulf of America. I don't care. It's the Gulf. It is the Gulf. Susan says, Gavin, I've been on several boats taking on water. It's harrowing. I wouldn't want to do it voluntarily, just me. Yeah, I've done that once where my plug fell out, either that or through my own stupidity. I forgot to put it back in. And thank goodness for backup bilge pump. Because wow. Yeah. Coffee time for D. I think Wanda should do a jingle with your name, J. Gavin Fish. I'm sure it'll be a bop. We got to do that. The J.G. Wentworth kind of thing. Yes, we got to do that. Wanda, your compositional skills are being asked for. Could you do that? I bet we could come up. I bet you could come up with something just amazing. Scrolling down. Uh, Robin says, you probably were a great kid, but a bit good decision impaired. that's a that's a good description. I was a good kid. I wasn't out doing bad things. I sometimes wish I had memories of doing bad things, but no, I'm glad that the way I was raised got me to where I am. But yeah, I was just completely brain dead. My dad described it in his journal as I live in a completely different time zone as them. That's the way he was describing it. I can't communicate with this kid. I have no idea. It's funny. Kim Lawton says, totally agree he stayed, yet he didn't retrieve his phone from the boat. That's where I'm stuck. That is a good point, right? If you're going to stay behind, you've got this girl that you want to hang out with. You want to peacock a little bit. You want to show off. Uh, yeah, you'd grab your phone. That's good. Susan says Christine is a nurse practitioner in a local hospital, so she's got some good medical experience. Wow, they seem like completely impressive people, like like completely and totally impressive people. You just look at them and you're just impressed by them. And when you look at pictures of Nolan, right? That looks like a kid who's got his head mounted squarely on his shoulders. He's still young and inexperienced. He's still stupid because that's what he is by definition, but looks like he's figuring it out, right? He's going to be turning into a terrific young man. Um, well, that's part of the tragedy, the whole thing. Um, Susan says most people leave their phone in a dry bag on the boat. No piers. You have to swim from the boat to the shore. Okay, so that adds another dimension to it. If you have to swim from the boat to the shore, so you're anchoring out there and you swim in. Um, Still, I I don't know. I'd put on a dry bag and swim it. That's just me though. And that's what I do when we go out paddleboarding and stuff like that. I've always got a dry bag on me. But that's me. Sharon says it's still a good 10 miles off the coast. Okay. Coffee Time for D says, I'm glad you're covering this. A party and no one knows what happened. Yeah, it feels to me like it does get a little suspicious when people shut up. However, if they are getting death threats, if they're getting threats online, I can understand shutting up. And I don't begrudge a person, um, availing themselves of their constitutional right to remain silent or be represented by a lawyer. I don't. I, I haven't seen that so far in this case yet. But it's certainly the questions are certainly worth asking, right? Hello, hello. I didn't carry anything back in my day. Our doors were still unlocked 24/7. Not anymore. Yep. Just Ducky, it would be hard to tell horseplay from someone in trouble if there were as many people around as they are saying. True. Yeah. Two of our children uh, grew up working as lifeguards. I've still got a child who manages a pool, and yeah, that training is imperative because to the rest of us it just looks like, oh, people are having fun, right? You have to be trained on looking for actual signs of distress. Couple more before we go. This reminds me that Malcolm Jamal Warner from The Cosby Show drowned in the ocean almost exactly a year ago in Costa Rica. I had forgotten about that. Sad. Sad. Jeff, it should be J. Dot Gavin Fish, like from Hamilton. Fun fact about Gavin, I hate it when things are popular. Even though I am a big fan of musical theater, I have yet to see Hamilton. Oh, don't hate me. Don't hate me. My kids love it, but when something becomes too popular, it's just yeah. Mildly mercurial. Do we know if the girl he stayed for was white? I do not know, and I know that race is part of this, right? That's what the The Wansleys have alleged that maybe race has something to do with what happened with the investigation. So I think it's appropriate to ask that. I don't know. Don't know the answer. Okay, so I'm caught up on our comments. So let me run to the next thing that I want to show you on this one. This is from today, the Mississippi Free Press. It was talked about in the last article, but just to kind of add to it a little bit, DA to present Nolan Wells investigation findings to grand jury. I think this is a good thing. Amy Schaefer writing for Mississippi Free Press. Pascagoula, Mississippi. A grand jury will consider the facts surrounding Nolan Wells' death following an investigation, his family's legal team said during a press conference on Wednesday morning after a meeting with Jackson County District Attorney Angel, McIlrath. Wells' mother, Christine Wansley, reported Wells, the 18-year-old resident of Ocean Springs, missing to authorities on July 4th after he traveled on a boat with friends to Horn Island, south of Jackson County. A park ranger found Wells' body 2 days later on Horn Island. Though authorities have not concluded whether any foul play led to Wells' death, grand juries can consider facts and make recommendations. Wells' friends have said that they left the island around 4:30 on July 4th, after their boat began taking on water, and that Wells decided to stay and ride back on another boat. The family and their legal team have questioned that story, with his parents saying they taught him to always leave with the group he travels with. Attorney Ben Crump, who was joined by Christine Wansley, Wells' father, Elmore Wansley, and attorney Eric Hertz, said at the press conference that his team will be steadfast in seeking the truth amid an influx of misinformation and AI-generated images that have surfaced during their search for answers. Wow. So let's see. I just want to... I think we've covered most of that. No word on autopsy results, things like that. So, yeah, the family has a GoFundMe so far. Look at it's raised $712,000. So, I mean, that goes to show that like people want these questions answered, right? They want the questions answered. That's a good thing. Mute that tab. Okay. Press conference. Tate Reeves said he has full confidence. Let's see. At a press conference in Jackson on Wednesday, Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves said he has full confidence in the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. I've yet to see a fact or piece of evidence that suggests any foul play, Reeves said, adding that he feels confident that if there has been any foul play, the Sheriff's Office and DA's office will do what's necessary to seek justice. Okay. I hope so, but I also understand the parents' point of view about, being concerned that something nefarious could have happened to their son. That brings me to the next thing that I want to share with you, which is about a 2-minute report from NBC. Yeah, is this NBC? I think, NBC News. I think this may have been on the Today Show, but which reports a little bit about the audio from the distress call. So let me bring this up. Hopefully, if I were a professional, Javi, I would have prepared this beforehand so that it showed correctly. There we go. There we go. All right. So this from NBC News. Let's have a watch/listen.
10 days after 18-year-old Nolan Wells was found dead on the shores of Mississippi's Horn Island, his family and their lawyers having their first face-to-face meeting with the local district attorney.
We did not get all the answers we want.
Nolan went on a 4th of July boat trip with friends. After some of them returned without him, his mom contacted police.
News report her 18-year-old son, Nolan Wells, missing passing at 3 on Horn Island.
And now NBC News has obtained new audio, part of a records request.
So that looks like a scene from Horn Island. So yeah, you'd have to wade or swim onto the island from the flotilla there I see what you're saying. Thanks for explaining that to me.
Of a call made to a private towing company by some of Nolan's friends.
We're sinking. Can you all please come?
A mom of one of those friends wrote last week that the group left without Nolan when their boat began malfunctioning and that Nolan decided to stay on the island.
Is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
As Nolan's family waits for answers, they've learned the case will be presented to a grand jury once the investigation is complete. The DA telling NBC News that's standard procedure for cases dealing with unknown causes of death and not an indication that a crime was committed.
We also agreed that we will have a mutual inspection of the cell phone with our experts and their experts.
Nolan's parents have said they believe content may have been deleted from his cell phone and are still demanding a thorough and fair investigation.
We know in America, in the South, certain people are investigated differently.
The Jackson County Sheriff telling me his investigators have interviewed several witnesses and are still piecing together details. Do you feel like you're getting useful information that's been helpful to figuring out what happened?
Yes, sir. We're getting very useful information, and we appreciate the public coming forward.
Nolan's mother says planning for his funeral doesn't feel real.
He would not want us to be sitting around crying. So what we're going to do is kind of have a party to celebrate him.
Now, Nolan's mom says that funeral will happen on Monday morning at a church just up the road here. This is why the family continues to wait for 2 sets of autopsy results to come back. Savannah?
Aaron Gilchrist, thank you very much.
Okay, so that the thing about that report was the audio of the distress call. We're taking on water. Can you guys come? Is everybody on board? Okay, yeah, everybody's on board. So I mean, if Nolan was planning on not being on board and and people ask, is everybody on board okay? I guess it would be perfectly fine to go, yeah, everybody on board is okay because everybody who was planning on board was on board, right? On the other hand, could it, I don't know. This is a tough one. This is a tough one. And the tough part about it is the lack of confidence in the investigating agencies so far. I was about to say, I want there to be a finding. What I want is that there's a finding of fact that gets to the truth. I don't think any of us should be hoping for it to be found one way or the other. What we should be seeking is the truth. And oftentimes, unfortunately, there are cases where there just isn't enough evidence to come to a conclusion completely supported by the facts. There is a gap that one must leap sometimes in these kinds of investigations, and I'm hoping that this doesn't turn out to be that way. I'm hoping that with interviews and with video footage and photos that they get from people that were on the island that day, I hope that they're able to put together a very good digital forensics picture of what happened, right? I'm hoping that if Nolan stayed on the island and his friends left, that there will be a digital footprint of that. And if something more nefarious happened, if there was a murder here, that there will be a digital footprint of that. I'm not hoping for one way or the other. Hello says, I don't see it over race. Could be over a girl, but more likely jealous over his athletic abilities. Yeah, so maybe there was some sort of a fight and he was killed, I guess. I don't know. We shall see. Thank you, hello, for that super chat. I really appreciate it. Also says, I'm still not ruling out accident. And I think that's the right place for us to be. We don't need to pick sides on this. We need to follow the evidence, right? What is Coffee time. I don't hate you. I feel bad for you missing out on something spectacular. Now I'm missing what it is. I missed a couple things. My mind goes. Leslie Hankins says, I'm the same with things that are too popular. Oh, you're talking about, okay, yeah, you're talking about Hamilton. I'm the same with things that are too popular, even though I did lots of musical theater, I avoided Hamilton like the plague. Finally caved 2 weeks ago. Of course, Sublime. Yeah. I'm going to tell you the real reason, okay? It's because there was a family that I love that just got too into it that was close to me. And I got sick of it before I even had a chance to go see it. They had already seen it 10 times and were playing the music and were quoting it and everything. I just couldn't take it anymore. Couldn't. But eventually I will see it. Like I said, our kids love it. Our kids love it. Hello says, I really don't think it's race. Yeah. I mean, the question is there, and I think it's a fair question to ask. And Diane Ferris says it's all speculation at this time, which it is. You are not wrong about that. Cabling says, okay, why do they have a GoFundMe, number one, and why over 700,000? They don't need a defense. I think what they're raising money for is for the investigation. That's what they're saying anyway. Let's see. Let me read it. Oh, okay. What? It's not about that. As we begin the painful journey of laying Nolan to rest, we are asking for help to ease the financial burden placed on our family. Funds raised will be used for funeral and memorial expenses, celebration of life services, and any additional costs associated with honoring Nolan's memory. Any remaining funds will help to support the family as they navigate the difficult days ahead. So that's what they're doing. They're not specifically asking for anything other than this is going to be difficult for us. And to me, that's fine. Listen, if anything happens to any member of my family and you say to yourself, I want to help Gavin, I'm going to start a GoFundMe, please don't. It's just so gauche, man. Just don't. I've got close and supportive family. Okay. I realize not everybody does, but for me, it's gauche. I don't want that. Okay, so that is the case, guys. Going back to my agenda to make sure that I covered everything. That's the case as we know it right now. Of course, we'll keep following it. It's now added to my list of cases that I am going to be looking for new news on every single day, and I'll keep my finger on the pulse of this one. If you have any information that you want me to see, please go to gavinfish.com, click the little icon, the envelope icon, and send me information if you want me to look at it. Now, do not despair. We still have much more show to go. We have got some headlines to go over in the Siders family case, in the Amy Hilliard disappearance, and in the prosecution of Nick Reiner. We've also got some good news to share with you, but we're going to do all that after we get into three questions. Let's do it. Here we go.
It's 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Guys, in this segment, I answer 3 of your questions that you email to 3questions@gavinfish.com. 3questions@gavinfish.com. 3questions@gavinfish.com, all spelled out. I solemnly promise to answer all of your questions, but I will do so 3 at a time in the order of my choosing. That's the covenant between us. Okay? All right, question number 1 comes to us from Dana. I love questions like these because you can answer them in the comments. Okay? Do me a favor though, put if you're answering question 1, put Q1. Put a GF on there too, but Q1, what's your answer? Okay, because I love reading your answers. Dana asks, if you could be invisible for 1 day, where would you go? Dana, this is a deeply probative question that gets at the very nature of oneself. By answering this question, you understand the nature of the answerer. I guess by asking this question, you understand the nature of the answerer. Okay, this is what I would do. I would stay in bed all day long. Nobody would come in. I might like sneak down to the kitchen to make myself some popcorn or something like that. But I would do absolutely nothing if I was invisible for the day. If I was just going to be left alone for an entire day, that is what I would do. I'm lazy at heart. That's what I am. Question number 2 from Cindy. Do you like fish and or shrimp? And if so, you like boiled shrimp, grilled shrimp, fried shrimp, shrimp cocktail, shrimp salad, shrimp potatoes? No, Cindy, I do not like fish or shrimp. Shrimp I'm okay with, but it's not something that I seek out. I'm not a fish eater. I will tell you a funny shrimp story. I may have told this before. But okay, when I was working in high-end audio, I would travel around the world, and of course, my clients would want to impress me. They apparently thought that I was some sort of highfalutin dude, and as the manufacturer of the equipment they were selling, they kind of put on the dog and pony, so to speak, right? So I was in Hong Kong, first or second time. It's one of the early times I was in Hong Kong, and I was invited out to dinner by my distributor. I was one of a few people that he invited out. And he said he'd send a car, which he did, and a car took me to the pier. And down at the pier, we got on a boat with my distributor, one or two of his employees, a couple of other manufacturer representatives like myself. And then we proceeded on what felt like, because I was hungry, the world's longest boat ride out, way out past Victoria Harbor. It felt like we were in the open ocean. I don't know that we were, but. And we came upon like a man-made floating island, which was just an outdoor restaurant. It like had tents, it had tables. It was just floating out there. It must have been in the harbor, but like at the mouth of the harbor, because it was pretty it was pretty calm, right? So we get off the boat, we get onto the little floating place. We can't like I can't see shore. I can't see buildings or anything. We're out there. And hung off the side of this little floating island, which was probably about the size of like half of a football field, something like that, were like cages from the day's catch. So the fishermen would come in and they would sell fresh fish and shrimp and crabs and all sorts of crustaceans and stuff to this little floating restaurant. And then, it's the first time there. My distributor in Cantonese is walking by different things and he's pointing at them and he's apparently ordering food, right? And they're taking it out of the little cages that are in the ocean, and they're going and they're preparing it mostly in front of us. It's all open, right? It's a very gritty, very earthy experience. Well, one of the things that they brought us was this giant bowl of deep fried shrimp. And they literally took a little scoop into the ocean, into that cage, grabbed a bunch of shrimp and just went into the deep fry. That's okay. It was gritty. So we get this bowl of freshly caught, kilt, and fried, I don't know, thing of shrimp. And then one of the employees, I'm wearing a white shirt, of course. One of the employees goes, "This is what you do." And he shows me how to, they call it unveining or devein, to clean it so that you can eat it. And then you just basically have the shell left over that you can discard, right? He shows me, and man, there's juices just popping all over the place as everybody around the table is grabbing, and doing all this stuff. Well, the first one I grab, I didn't know what to do. So I did it inward and it just went just all over my white shirt, shrimp juices. Oh, it's gross. It's gross. I'm not a seafood person, but when in Rome, right? Yeah, like that was the dog and pony. He was doing something really fancy for us. It tasted fine. I would have enjoyed a chicken or a cow of some sort, but when in Rome. So that's my little story. To answer your question, no. All right, question number 3 from Diane V. I think this is Diane V's first question. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why? Diane, I do not care where in the world I live. I don't care. As most of you guys know, I've seen the world. I've been all over the world. I've lived abroad. I've lived all over the United States. Not all over the United States. I've lived throughout in different places in the United States. Let's put it that way. As long as I have my wife with me and our minor children with me and easy access to our grown children, I could be in Timbuktu. I just don't even care. There's the world used to be an exotic place to me, a world of mystery where I would be, I just wanted to see and experience and smell and touch so many different things. And I did that. I did it all. There are certainly places in the world I've never been, but there are no mysteries that need solving in my mind and heart anymore. So as long as I'm with Kimberly and I have our kids, the dependent ones with us and the grown ones available, I could be anywhere. But there are a couple places that would be fun. Like Kimberly and I we went to Portugal, what, a year and a half ago? Or a year ago, I can't remember, for the express purpose of deciding if we wanted to move our family to Portugal for a little while. It turned out that we're like, but yeah, there'd be some fun stuff. There are places on Earth that I would love to just live for a year or two. It'd be great, and maybe we still will do that. It would be cool if Argentina could continue on its path of stabilization. Because I wouldn't mind spending a year or so in Argentina, especially if I'm making American money. I wouldn't mind that at all. So what are your answers to the 3 questions, which are, if you could be invisible for a day, where would you go? Do you like fish and or shrimp? And if so, broiled, grilled, fried, whatever. And if you could live anywhere in the world, where would you go and why? And while you are answering those questions, let me share with you a couple of more true crime headlines. Here we go.
True crime headlines.
Okay, come with me, if you will. Let's check in on the Siders family, shall we? This from WLWT, and this hey, by the way, tomorrow we're going to have Elizabeth Jones on. It's going to be our Friday tradition for the foreseeable future. Elizabeth's going to come on. We're going to talk about a few cases, including the Siders case. Let's see. I just want to make sure because it's Elizabeth texting me. Oh, excellent. Excellent. So we're going to talk about a couple of cases with her, including the Siders case. So tune in tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time for a conversation with Elizabeth Jones. But according to WLWT's Karen Johnson, records show prior concerns about the family accused of endangering those 16 kiddos. We saw the inside of that house yesterday. Eesh. Gallia County, Ohio. Court records reveal that the Siders family, now accused of endangering 16 children in Vinton County, had prior legal issues in Gallia County involving school attendance concerns in 2021. In October of 21, an attendance officer for Gallia County local schools filed multiple complaints alleging that 6 Siders children aged 7 to 13 at the time were absent from school without legitimate excuse for the entire year up to that point. The complaints also accused the parents, Gary and Elizabeth Siders, of failing to send their children to school as required by law. The family's address was listed as Honeysuckle Drive in Cheshire, Ohio, in the court records. However, the cases did not progress because summonses were returned marked vacant house. By January 2022, the cases were terminated as the family could not be located. Now the Siders family is at the center of a more severe case in Vinton County where investigators allege that 16 children were found living in severe filth and confined to a 12 by 12 room. That room didn't look 12 by 12 to me. But, I mean, be precise. That's all I'm asking. During a meeting of the Ohio Controlling Board on Monday, state leaders acknowledged the broader implications of the case. I've never seen anything like this, said Joel Potts of the Ohio Department of Children and Youth. He added, I do think as we go through and do our investigations and we talk to these kids and we really start looking into things, we'll have a much better sense of how we can certainly improve the system. Continuing with the Siders family from News Nation, written by Jesse Weber and Tatiana Carter. The courts tried to find the family 5 years before 16 kids were discovered. Same basic story here, right? But talking to Lauren Conlon, they could not locate them, Conlon told News Nation's Jesse Weber Live. And I asked the courts if there were any follow-ups after this or any follow-ups that I should be aware of, and they just said no. That is the part that I wanted you to know. Like, what's the next step? County services, you can't find them, so you just drop the case? What's the next step? Okay. Under Ohio law, children who are chronically absent from school can be named in separate court filings and classified in a specific legal category, Lauren Conlon said. Quote, they also kind of create separate cases and actually name the children, and they're referred to as, quote, unruly children if they're not in school, Conlon said. It's kind of wild to me. I'd never seen that before. Conlon said she has identified the school connected to the complaints and has reached out to former administrators there for more information. Oh yeah, the gag order is only applied to Gary Siders Jr., which in my opinion really doesn't make any sense here, Conlon said. We talked about that as well. I looked today at the Common Pleas Court. It is still the case that the gag order is only on Gary Siders Jr. So we've got a lot to talk about with Elizabeth, along with a couple of other cases. You guys, we haven't talked about this case in a while, but I found this interesting. On page 6, Rob Reiner's sister stands behind accused murderer Nick as he deteriorates in prison. I think stand behind is probably a little too editorial, but let's see what they say. Nick Reiner still has support from one of his closest relatives. Rob Reiner's sister, Annie Reiner, has remained by her nephew's side since he was charged in connection with the December 2025 murders of the filmmaker and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, a source told Page 6 exclusively. By the way, this is a gossipy website, so it's written very boisterously, right? Quote, Annie has been supportive of Nick throughout the legal proceedings, the insider said. Despite the circumstances surrounding the case, she has remained in his corner, and her presence has meant a great deal to him. Okay. Like, for me, that is an aunt who recognizes probably that he has mental health issues and that those mental health issues led to the murder of her brother and sister-in-law, but like Rob and Michelle Reiner, probably just has tons and tons and tons of compassion. Let's see. Annie, 77, has largely stayed out of the spotlight since her brother and sister-in-law were killed, though family and friends were photographed gathering at her Los Angeles home 1 week after the tragedy. Yeah, it doesn't. And then it's just stuff that we've already covered. But anyway, in April, Jake shared a throwback snapshot of himself with his parents on Instagram with a heartfelt caption. A week from today, I will be approaching my first birthday without my parents. I consider myself lucky to have had them by my side for the past 34 years. In the last 4 months, I've learned a lot about grief. I want to thank I am David Kessler, who has been instrumental in investigating the horrors of this process, as well as family and friends. I hope you take the time to read my full essay at the link in the bio. We read that essay once before. For anyone dealing with the type of grief and loss, I see you. He concluded the post writing, to my Aunt Martine, I love you. Thank you for taking care of us. Is Martine? I don't know. Is that the same person or is it different people? I don't know. But anyway, Nick has one family member that is trying to help, probably because she is a compassionate person. Okay, last in the headlines today before we get to good news. And I think good news today is better news than yesterday. Okay, this in the disappearance of Amy Hilliard. Amy Hilliard is still missing. This was published a few days ago, but we haven't covered it yet. More than 3 months after mom of two vanished near her California home, her 53rd birthday marked another heartbreaking moment. Our family is really suffering. We miss her dearly. Chris Hilliard tells People of his wife of 22 years, Amy Hilliard, who was last seen on Wednesday, March 25th. We're constantly thinking about her. It'll be another hard milestone in this case to pass without her here. Despite the pain, the Hilliard family, which includes their daughters 19 and 20, as well as local volunteers, continue to search for the beloved business owner. So, Amy is still missing. She's 52 years old, white woman with blonde hair, hazel eyes, 5'4", weighs about 120 pounds, was at risk due to medical conditions. If you have any information about that, please call the Oakland PD at 510-238-3641. Now, Wanda, we need to go to some good news next. What do you have planned for us for good news transition music? Oh, at the barbershop. Okay, good.
Good news ringing warm and clear, bringing smiles from ear to ear. Happy stories bright and true, make the whole world shine anew.
Wanda, that is a delightful rendition of your good news song. Thank you very much for singing bass on that. Guys from the UPI, written by Ben Hooper. Rare echidna twins hatch at San Diego Zoo Safari Park. They are mammals that have hatched. What? The San Diego Zoo Safari Park announcing the hatching of rare echidna twins, a species of egg-laying mammals native to Australia and New Guinea. The zoo said the baby echidnas, look at them, known as puggles. Puggles, you say? Wait a minute. Video killed the radio star. That was the puggles, right, Mooney? Was that the puggles? I'm sure I've got that off by a letter. Anyway, the zoo said the baby echidnas, known as puggles, are the first twins to hatch from eggs laid by the same mother in the same mating season in an association of zoos and aquariums facility in North America. So many qualifiers in that sentence. Okay, first twins to hatch from eggs laid by the same mother in the same mating season in the same, not just zoo, but association of zoos and aquariums facility in North America. Lots of qualifiers there, but we're happy. We're happy. Officials said one of the puggles is being raised by Mother Catherine in an underground burrow, while the other is being hand-raised at the Safari Park's Harder Veterinary Care Center. Veterinarians made the decision to take custody of the baby due to its smaller size, making it more vulnerable. Veterinarians have been taking regular ultrasounds of the smaller echidna's stomach, allowing them to analyze how quickly it digests formula and develop an optimized feeding schedule. This breakthrough will help shape how echidnas are cared for at the Safari Park and across SDZWA's Australian Forest Conservation Hub, the zoo said. I don't think they're endangered or anything. They're just like a cute little egg-laying mammal. Perry the Puggle would have been good, not just Perry the Platypus. What if Perry was an echidna? It could have been Perry the Puggle. Dan Povenmire. I'm just throwing that out there for your next delightful children's cartoon that includes a crime-fighting, investigating, arch enemy battling egg-laying mammal, an echidna might be a good choice. I'm just saying. Guys, those are ye headlines.
True crime headlines.
Okie dokie. Let's just finish out with a couple of comments real quick. What do we got? Hello says, my whole life was music. I'm over it. Okay. Carol Clark says, the inconsistencies are troublesome. The girl said he went back on the boat and friends said he did not. Fair enough. Yep. Someone donated 100K. That may have been Colin Kaepernick. I think that's what I read. K Bling says, Gavin, but that's exactly right. We're so far away from that comment that I'm not sure. Melissa Sawyer is saying hello to everyone. Thank you very much, Melissa. Good to see you. Archangel says, sorry, one day of being invisible would not be enough for me. Hello says, I have a fourth question. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Uh-oh. You know what? We need like a buzzer. We need a buzzer. Hello, it's not your fault. You're new here. I can tell. You're new. It's fine. 3 questions must be submitted to 3questions@gavinfish.com. There's no cheating in the system. We have a solemn covenant between us. That's funny. Surth River, I'm glad you are here, and I'm happy to be covering this as well. Melissa Sawyer, it flew all over you. Flew all over me. It did. Yeah, it went the shrimp guts. Yes. Coffee time for D. Question 2, all the shrimps. She likes all the shrimps. Question 3, Alaska because it is beautiful. Alaska does look beautiful. Question 3, I would like to live in Japan. Japan is the only place on Earth where I feel like I don't belong. I feel like I'm on Venus. I've been there multiple times. It's just weird. Now, my brother lived there and loved it. Mary Shaw says, Edinburgh, Scotland, but with respect to having family accessible. Yes, indeed. Scotland would be fun. Let's see. Christine Meadows, if you haven't tried sea bass, you must. It may just change your mind on being a fish hater. I don't know that I'm a fish hater. I'm just not a fish lover. Hello says, I want to visit Australia, Egypt, and many more, but I'm scared of flying. I eat just about anything. Maybe you need to get over your fear of flying, or maybe not. Don't listen to me, because I would hate to be the person who was like, hey, get over it, and then you die in a crazy plane crash. I don't want to be that. Robin says, missing too much school is called educational neglect, and the parents can be taken to court, at least in Minnesota. And then Coffee Time for D says she is honoring her brother. He would not want his son to suffer, even given what he did. I kind of feel the same way. You said it better than I did. A couple more here. Mooney says it was the Buggles, not the Puggles. I knew I was a letter off. Chivos knows the same thing. And Chivos also says they might be giants. Sing about echidnas in their song Mammal. I had not thought about that, but indeed they do. I do love me some They Might Be Giants. That is a band that I really enjoyed as a kiddo. I'm your only friend. I'm not your only friend. Yeah, I like They Might Be Giants. It's good stuff. Guys, thanks so much for spending this time with me. Thank you for saving? For staying all the way to the end. I don't know if you've noticed, but over on the Book of Faces, my page is going gangbusters. People are following me who haven't followed me before. We got people commenting. We got people engaging. We got a couple. I wrote about Ellen Greenberg today that's got like 20,000 views. I've got, just so much going on there. If you haven't followed me on the socials, go follow me on the socials. All you have to do is go to my old website. I think I moved it to the bottom. So you scroll down to the bottom and there is a list of socials. I probably should move that to the top. But you can find me everywhere, including in the tank. If you click on this little fishy button, that will take you to the fish tank where we hang out on Facebook in our little Gavin Fish group. And you're always, always, always welcome there. Also, special thank you to those who watch and listen on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast, and to my patrons, to my members, to those of you who do super chats and all that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are awesome. We will see you tomorrow, same time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, where we will catch up with our pal Elizabeth. Until then, I bid you adieu. Thank you very much for being here. Catch you on the next one.